Welcome back. Flat for the broader markets as we speak at this point in time. So we have the mid-cap index, which is just about lower by around 3 odd points. But today is a day where we still have a lot of these earning reactions coming through. It is really the tail end of the earnings season. So one particular set of numbers that I want to discuss is Biocon, which came out with its numbers over the weekend. In fact, I think on Friday evening is when they came out with numbers. Revenue was up around 49% odd for Biocon this quarter. It was lower than what the street was anticipating because the street was working with around a 57% growth. The reason for such a high amount of growth is because they integrated the biosimilar business from Viatris, which they bought completely with the company's financials this quarter. So this was the first quarter that they integrated it entirely. Margins 21.4% versus 20.3%. Profit at around 274 odd crores. The street was anticipating around 138 odd crores. So that was better than estimates. Now the biosimilar business, which is 55% of their sales now, was up 97% year on year. But what really got the street was the generics business, which is 19% of sales, but was up only 4% on a year-on-year basis. The company has told us that they have completed the transition of Viatris in the US. They will be completing the other transitions before the year end. Dermatology and nephrology, the business divestment which they did to Eris is going to tighten the focus around their core therapies, and the funds from the divestment, which is over 350 odd crores, will be used to reduce debt. In fact, they are looking at several options in order to reduce debt. Now, the brokerages weren't too enthused with the numbers. So, for example, Goldman Sachs, which has a buy and a target price of around 280, said that the revenue momentum was a mixed bag and margins were a tad weaker. They've lowered their FY24-26 EPS by 5 to 7%. Motilal, neutral, target price 220, delay in new approvals drags the biosimilar prospects. Pricing pressure in the API segment added to the woes, according to them. Well, in fact, we did speak to the management. We did speak to Peter Bain, who's the CEO of Biocon. Listen into what he had to say.
We're very pleased with the progress we're making with the transition of the Viatris business. And in the quarter, we completed the transition in the United States, obviously a very major market. And we're on track to complete the transition in Europe and the remaining emerging markets before the end of this fiscal. So making very good progress there, and delighted, I think, to see the traction that we're getting with the major brands, both in the United States and in Europe. So, for example, with Fulphila, which is biologics pegfilgrastim, we saw market share increase from 11% to 19%. With trastuzumab from 10% to 12%, and with the Semglee glargine from 9% to 11%. So that demonstrates the real power and strength of the commercial engine in the United States. And in Europe, we saw a similar pattern with market share improvements across the portfolio of assets, which augurs well for Europe for the future. And of course, that was supported by growth in the emerging markets, particularly in the insulins. So we're very pleased with the progress we're making. We still got work to do, particularly in Europe, which is more complex, but we're on track to complete the transition before the end of the year. The reason for that is just really tightening the focus of our business around our core therapy areas. So nephrology and dermatology were non-core, so we're going to focus on our core areas. And the use of funds, will largely be to offset the debt that we have. We're looking at a number of options there. So, we have already taken down the debt at some level through structured equity. That remains an option, but there are a number of other levers that we're looking at as well. And we'll be working through that, I think, and reducing the debt level that we have over the coming quarters.
All right, so that was some conversation coming in from the management of Biocon. Meanwhile, just take a short break with the news that we are seeing a bit of a pickup in a couple of stocks. We'll talk about those stocks and some technical trading strategies with Ruchit Jain after this short break as well. Keep it with Halftime Report.